I'm standing here in the Sympathy Lab of Sympatex with Rüdiger Fox, CEO of Sympatex. And since 2017, you've been completely carbon neutral. How did you get there and how did you do it?
Das sind gleich zwei Fragen. Wie kommt man dazu?
That's two questions. How did we get there? Originally by looking at the risk report of the World Economic Forum. They're all wise captains of industry and politicians. And in 2016, at least they noticed that global warming is the biggest human problem. How can it be solved? You take an external body that analyzes what CO2 footprint we leave behind and plant as many trees each year to cover our current fossil fuel requirements, while we continue to wonder over the next few years how we'll get rid of it. That's really the long and the short of it. Here in the Sympathy Lab, people can talk and discuss with you. What are those conversations like right now? Is everyone open to using your products? Are there any people who say that it's all nonsense and that the environment's not so important? What's your take on the situation? Well, that's a bit like anything that keeps changing. When the discussion first came up about needing a different kind of drive for private transport, they all said that electric wouldn't happen and wanted to continue with diesel and combustion. A lot of people still want to. And that's similar to our situation, actually. Actually, we turned the whole discussion around. We said that everything we do is open source, so we don't protect anything with patents or anything else. We just say that everyone can use it. We also encourage everyone to copy us. Yes, it's official. What we do isn't patented or protected. Quite the reverse. We're happy about everyone who participates. We have 1.7 million waste garments in Germany alone every year. There's enough space for everyone who's interested and, shall we say, honest enough to check out their own footprint. And we're honest there too. We still have a long way to go in other respects, but in terms of CO2, we're fine. Those who've realized that the next challenge in the market is not who's a bit more waterproof than waterproof or a bit more breathable than breathable, but instead who is sustainable. They've already been there. As for the others, I can confidently say it's about time. Otherwise, the market will have disappeared. Let's say a manufacturer has a jacket that isn't the least bit environmentally friendly, but wants to integrate a bit of Sympatex into it. How do you deal with a customer like that? We're very positive about that. I was born in a generation when the Earth could still just about absorb what we've created as all humankind. At the moment, we're at factor 1.6. I'm not saying we need to go to zero and become cave dwellers again, but we do have to compensate for what we've consumed in the planetary water heater. So in that regard, we've also categorized our textiles, or laminates, into different sizes, similar to the fridge. Of course, 100% sympathy inside is definitely the front runner. These are things that are made of recycled material, chemical-free, etc. The bottom 10%, that is 10% sympathy inside, is where we stop. But everything in between, 30 and 40%, and ideally from 2020 onwards, 50, 70 and 100%, are also stages on the way there. And even if we just take a few tons of garbage, a few tons of PFCs out of the cycle, we'll have taken a giant step. So I'm happy about anyone who makes a start, however small. It's perfectly okay to do that. Is it much more expensive to use Sympatex, or why would anyone balk at using it? Well, if you don't mind, I'm afraid I can't answer that question yet. I entered the industry as an outsider 15 months ago and asked the same question. Back then I was told that it wouldn't interest anyone. Meanwhile, you can hear everyone saying that it does interest them after all. So I tell every customer, just think, your collection will come out in 1.5 years' time, not today. So consider what'll be press ready in 1.5 years. And that's what we're working on. Then again, I have to say I don't understand it because we've set ourselves the task of radicalizing the whole thing. That is, making the topic of recycled material far more important. And the only feedback we've received internally is, hey, it's easier than we thought. In terms of costs, I don't see any obstacles, because here and there it is a bit more expensive, but we partly offset that ourselves. Better to have a lower margin than to have to compromise all the time, and we're happy about everyone who participates. But of course that's one of the big questions that always get asked when humanity realizes too late that it could have changed things long ago. We keep stumbling over our mental models, and always think we can just carry on with business as usual. Well, you're all warmly invited to come here to Hall 11 and speak to Mr. Fox and his colleagues. There's a lot to discuss, and if you ask me, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't come along. Okay, thank you very much for the interview.